What the heck am I going to say about the X1 Carbon that hasn't already been said? It's been a year since it's come out and the machine's already got glowing praise. If you're looking for me to add my opinion to the swath of other reviewers out there, then I'll save you some time right now. It's awesome. And for the audience I've gained, then I think that for the majority of you, this will tick every single box you want ticked. But what is it that Bambu are doing here that few other brands are and none of the big 3D printer brands even understand? Well, let me tell you. Hi, I'm Ross, and this is Fohammer Videos. So, no joke, I was literally on the verge of buying the X1 Carbon and I was looking at the bundle the morning of the day they contacted me and offered me this printer in exchange for a review. And I have more videos on this coming soon, but I'll come back to that later. But again, a review would be more of what you've seen. There are so many brands out there now trying to clone this thing, and they all do the same thing. Heated chamber, faster speed. In fact, Bambu all but launched the fast printer trend that everyone is now trying to copy. But that isn't Bambu's secret. It's everything else. You see, there are different people out there using printers. For years it's been a very niche hobby. So much trial and error has gone in by the community and manufacturers just to get these devices from workable concepts to the more plug-and-play machines you see nowadays. But even those easier printers need some tinkering to get the best out of them, or in many cases even just get decent results. Then you need to worry about doing this for every single type and brand and colour and age of filament that you use. And whilst I like FDM printing, it's not my forte. I'm a resin printer. I like to make models. I hate layer lines on anything, which is why resin printers are more my thing. I do FDM printer reviews, but honestly, outside of using them for the reviews, they're rarely actually touched bar the few fun projects I like to do whilst one's still sat on my desk. But with the X1 Carbon, I haven't stopped printing since I got it. As I wrote this review, it was still printing. As I'm now recording it, I've paused the printing just so you can't hear it, but it will be back on as soon as I'm done here. So here's the thing, the elephant in the room if you will. FDM printing is an absolute pain in the arse. I came into it after resin printing, assuming it would be easier. After all, it had been around much longer. But resin printing's easy. It's messy, but it's easy. When it comes to settings, you only really have leveling, exposure time and lift speed to worry about. And calibration is no more than running a few prints of the same thing, upping and lowering exposure times to get the best results based on whatever tiny layer height you want. But FDM printing, like, I think I kinda get it now, a good year and a half on, but all the guides out there are so overcomplicated and I still don't know a solid process to correctly dial in most settings. There's a lot of what to do, but a limited amount of what order you should do it in or why. I guess that's really a good idea for future video content for me. But anyway, I'm of two minds with what I want from FDM prints, and those minds are conflicting. On one hand, I just want to print things, but I also want to be printing the best possible models I can print from these printers. But a lot of the time, working prints would be enough. And to do that, I've kinda nailed down a rough process, level the printer, get the temperature dialed in so that it lays down layers well enough, too hot and parts won't bridge well, too cold and stuff won't stick. But within there you also have a range of the walls where models could be glossy or grainy depending on how hot the temperature likes to be, and layer lines could be more or less prominent. Then you have extrusion to worry about, too much material through the nozzle and you get a bloated print and it starts to get stringy, or you get little blobs or a brittle print. And even then, you need to make sure when you're retracting material, it does it consistently and fast enough, or you get blobs everywhere or strings between parts. Now if you're someone who wants to print stuff, does any of that sound like fun to you? Does it sound fun knowing that when you change a parameter to counter one of these issues, it could easily impact another? And again, now consider that every filament could do with being dialed in the same way. Even now, much more than a year on from when I first got into FDM printing, I'm constantly second guessing that everything's right. Should this temperature be up or that parameter be faster? And there's hundreds of settings. So now like I suppose many of you, just go with default parameters and hope for the best, tweaking only when I need to. and a successful print means more to you than getting the best possible quality print you can get. And all of this is only the first part of the headache too. What if something goes wrong with the printer? I mean, what do you do then? If you're lucky, you'll search for the correct terms and you may not even know what they are the first time and get them right on the first try. If you're super lucky, someone else has the same issue on the same printer and even posted the solution. But more often than not, you'll have searched for the wrong term or found that issue on a different printer. Or the proposed solution makes no sense, or the solution giver is just wrong. Further cementing misinformation amongst the community. It happens all the time. And I'm sorry for that whole opening rant, but I needed to make sure you were all on the same page before going into what the Bambu Labs printer does differently and why none of the other big brands even have a clue. And it's because innovation in 3D printing is about user experience. And it's not even the fact that the Bambu Labs just works, it's about how it just works. And it starts with the unboxing. Now, this is more than the few minutes they advertise on this unit, but that's only because there's so much in here. There's no real building to do. It's all just set up, and the instruction guides walk you through all of this so easily, and there's numerous videos you can follow too, all done by Bambu. It's hard, it's genuinely hard to get any of this wrong. So the package they sent me is the Combo, which includes the AMU. You can use this for their rather unique multicolour print feature, or as a recently added feature, you can stock up on reels of the same filament in case one runs out, your print will just continue on the next reel of the same type and colour. And they even have a hub add-on. You can connect up to 4 AMUs for a total of 16 different colour prints if you so wanted to. And all of this is so easy to set up too. You just do it on the UI of the printer where you tell it what brand, type and colour of filament is in each of the slots. And Bambu sent me a ton of their different filaments, and the bonus to these is there's also an RFID chip in the label that the AMU reads and it automatically knows what filament it is. Bambu then obviously already have the best default settings for those materials because the printer is in a controlled environment. Now, unlike something a bit simpler and more beginner friendly like the AnkerMake M5, the slicer application can look a little bit overwhelming for new people to FDM printing, but honestly, when you get it out of the box, you just log into the same Bambu account that you created when you set up your printer using your phone, and it's automatically detected on your network. All you need to do is load a model in. If you have the AMU, click the sync button to get the details of the filament in the AMU, and from here the slicer can auto-orient, support and slice the file. But if you're new here, you can come across issues. And if there are issues, you'll get a clear notification that very clearly tells you what the problem is, and it tells you in plain and clear English how to solve it. And when it comes to printing, you genuinely don't need to care or worry about any of the calibration stuff that I talked about earlier. The X1 Carbon uses a LiDAR to determine the levelling perfectly for every single print. But then it will also calibrate the extrusion settings too with a test print at the front of the plate, and it scans how much material is extruded to make sure it's correct, and again, this is every single time. All of this leads to not just working and not just good, but really high quality prints out of the box. And again, if you have the AMU, this also works to dehumidify your filament before it's used too, and that's really helpful. I've actually had this unit printing filaments that are years old and have been sat in the garage, but they printed without a single flaw. And has it been a perfect experience in the last couple of weeks? Well, no, and that's a good thing. I've had some issues, but the printer itself taught me how to fix them. And the first issue was a notification that told me that the resonance frequency was too low and it suggested a belt was loose. You see, the printer will make this weird vibration noise before its first print to detect vibrations in order to reduce ghosting on the edge of your layers. When the printer told me the belt was loose after some pre-print checks, I could click read more and get a QR code which led me to a web page with a full description of the issue and a video solution on how to resolve it. This happened again later. After over 200 hours of printing, the cheap Elegoo filament that I used got stuck in the print head. Like an idiot, I tried to cold pull it, which then snapped the filament inside the extruder. And I tried a bunch of tricks I already knew from other 3D printers, like trying to force it through a hot nozzle. that didn't work. I even tried removing the nozzle and using a heated Allen key just to get it unclogged from here too. But it was only after trying those MacGyver tricks I'd learned through the years that I remembered to follow the printer's guide, and once again, following the error taught me how to remove and disassemble the extruder mechanism and remove the piece of filament that I trapped inside it, because I didn't follow the proper guide in the first place. And when it comes to the advanced features like colouring prints, you can do this so easily with either the manual or the paint bucket tools within the slicer. All you need to do is paint colours on the face of a model and the slicer just takes care of the rest. And this can be done easily by just adjusting the paint tool's sensitivity to the angles on a print surface. And I've said since my Anchormake M5 review that sure, there's tons of printers out there with high specifications, but the speed that other brands have been chasing proves why they just don't get it. Most just don't even understand what the Bambu does, which makes it stand out so much. So they can and will continue making faster printers, hotter printers, bigger fans or larger printers, but making printers that are more intuitive is far more important than any of that. Bambu Lab gets it, and that's why they went from somebody that nobody's heard of to a company that is consistently thought of as the top in the FDM market for reliable, high-quality 3D printers that anybody can use. This gives you fast and accurate prints out of the box. And you really don't need to know anything about FDM printing to get started with this. Yeah, it's pricey, but considering that Bambu are consistently supporting and upgrading it, they have proven that they are a company worth investing in. And thanks to how this makes advanced levels of 3D printing more accessible to the masses, it's easy to see why they have a business model and a range of products worth supporting. And unless the other brands wake up and realise this, before long they'll fade into obscurity and continue to release knockoff versions of this feature set that are consistently looked at as inferior, and eventually they'll be thought of as only useful to those people who are happy to tinker. I'll be doing more videos on the X1 Carbon soon, including some large print guides and showing you how you can print miniatures and wargamer terrain using the 0.2mm nozzle, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. I want to say thanks to you for watching, and thanks especially to our YouTube channel members who got early access to content like this. They get exclusive videos and their name up in the credits. Please consider joining them, or just drop us a tip if you like this content, and you can do that in the form of a super thanks, but if you can get membership anyway, you may as well become a member. But seriously, thanks so much for watching. Until next time, TTFN, Fohammer out.